For today's explainer, we are diving headfirst into the chaotic world of a sci-fi survival game called Terror on Omega 9. We're going to piece together the final, terrifying moments that kick off your mission and explore what it really means to survive when the cameras are rolling.
So, that right there, that's the last thing anyone ever heard from Omega 9. Just this frantic, automated warning cutting through the silence of space. It's chilling, and it immediately makes you ask, what in the world happened out there?
All right, so let's try to piece this puzzle together. All we really have to go on is some corrupted data from the station's emergency beacon, but from that, we can actually build a timeline of the disaster. This is our one and only window into the absolute chaos that went down.
And look at this. It shows you just how fast everything completely fell apart. I mean, we're talking about just over an hour to go from a totally routine docking procedure to nothing. Total radio silence. You've got a crew member acting erratically, the security cams suddenly go dark, and then a biological outbreak? It all points to one thing, right? Something went terribly, horribly wrong, and it seems to have started with that ship, the Phoenix 7.
Now, this isn't just some backstory we're talking about. This entire catastrophe is the setup for the game. This is the scenario you get thrown into. So the real question becomes, who are you going to be when those alarms start screaming? Let's meet the crew.
Okay, so let's check out your options. Are you going to be the brains of the operation like Science Officer Goslan? This is the guy who can literally turn common household items into an explosive with his boom ability. Or maybe you're more of a hands-on fixer like Engineer Harper. She can use her jerry-rig skill to get a busted piece of equipment working just long enough to save everyone's skin. So, it's a choice. Do you want to blow stuff up or patch it together?
But hey, maybe you prefer a more direct approach. You could play as the base commander, Adam Saris. His override ability? It means every single door on the station opens for you, no questions asked. Or you could just be a total powerhouse, like Security Chief Ingerson, who basically starts the game as a walking tank thanks to his body armor. So, do you lead with authority or with just pure, raw force?
And then there's the politician. Of course there's a politician. Meet Vice President Evie L. Beatnik. Now, she's not really here to, solve the problem. Nah, she's here to spin the story, get in the way of the other players, and probably steal all the credit. Yeah, that should give you a pretty good idea of the, let's call it, unique vibe of this whole situation.
So you're probably thinking, the goal is pretty simple, right? Just survive. Find an escape pod, get the heck out of there, and leave the nightmares of Omega 9 behind you. Well, that's only part of it. The real mission is a little more complicated than that.
See, the most valuable currency on Omega 9 isn't ammo, it's not medkits, it's fame. Yep, you heard me right. It's not enough to just survive. It's all about how you survive. Are you going to be the big hero who saved the day? The brilliant scientist with a game-changing discovery? Your personal goals are all about becoming famous.
But you can't be a star if you're totally wiped out. Every single thing you do, fighting aliens, completing tasks, you name it, it's going to cost you fatigue. You've got to manage that resource super carefully because, trust me, running on fumes in a space station full of monsters is not a good look.
And that brings us to, and I am not kidding, the most critical survival stat of all, hair perfection. Why? Because this whole game is basically a giant loving send-up of every sci-fi horror movie you've ever seen. And what's the one rule of those movies? The hero's hair always looks perfect, even after wrestling some slimy creature in an air duct. Remember the motto, it is much better to look good than to feel good.
All right, so now that you get what's on the line here, fame, your life, and of course, fantastic hair, let's talk about the nitty-gritty. How do you actually get through a turn?
Well, it all comes down to your health. It's super simple. The better you feel, the more you can do. If you're healthy and in the green, you get 3 actions on your turn. But if you take a hit and drop into the yellow, you're down to 2. And if things get really bad and you're in the red, you're barely hanging on with just 1 action.
Getting started is a piece of cake. You just pick your character, put your token down on their starting spot, and get your first hand of cards. Now, at the same time, the alien player is secretly figuring out where they're going to start. Oh, and remember, rank has its perks. The base commander always gets the first turn.
So after all that, it really all boils down to this number, 3. That's it. If you're healthy, you get 3 precious actions on your turn. 3 chances to move, to fight, to fix something, or, maybe to perfect your hair. How you use them is what decides if you become a legend or just a really, really good-looking victim.
Right, but let's not forget, you're not exactly alone on this station. There's something else stalking you in the corridors. And to take it down, a big weapon isn't going to be enough. You're going to need to use your brain.
See, this thing you're fighting isn't just some dumb monster. It has a whole list of weaknesses and immunities. Your standard bullets might just bounce right off, but maybe an explosion will do the trick. Or maybe it hates the cold, or can't handle a certain toxin. The point is, you have to think like a scientist here, not just a soldier. You got to figure out its weak spots and then hit 'em hard.
So there you have it. That's the situation on Omega 9. It's a life or death struggle that's also a mad dash for the spotlight. Every single move you make matters, from which corridor you run down to which camera you happen to smile for. So, I guess the only question left is, what will you become? A hero, a celebrity, or just a victim with really, really great hair?